Hello and welcome to this instructional video. In this video we're going to review the interface for the Prismatic Machining Workbench. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and open CATIA and go ahead and close the empty default product that opens when you first launch CATIA. In the previous video I showed you how to go about launching the Prismatic Machining Workbench, and we did this using the application area, the machining application area, which is here, and then going across and clicking on Prismatic Machining. So that's one way to do it. One more way that you can use to open a Prismatic Machining file is to do it under the Files menu. So if you go to File and click on New, you have the option here to open different file types in CATIA, and depending on which file type you open, CATIA will open the most appropriate workbench or the last workbench that you used that used that particular file type. So let's go ahead and click on Process. So Process covers files that are created in Prismatic Machining. Let's hit OK. And now we're kicked into that workbench. And because the Prismatic Machining Workbench was the one that I used in the previous video, by default that's the one that is opened when I click on a process file type. So what you see in front of you is the interface. It's very similar to what you've seen in part design and assembly design, in that the menus are on the top, and these menus follow the same sequence and naming as they were in part design. So you'll see things like your view menu, insert tools, different commands of course, but the same menu positions and names as was present in the other workbenches you've seen so far. You have your toolbars, which are docked on the frame. These can be undocked and redocked. So you have toolbars on the left, right here, toolbars on the bottom, and then you have a tree here at the top left-hand corner of the display area, which is a bit different from what you've seen before. This tree is called the PPR tree. The first P referring to process, second P referring to product, and then the R referring to resources. So as you start building your Prismatic machining strategy, your process, you'll find that the operations you create should appear under the process list, or will appear there. The part that you're going to be machining, developing the process for, will appear under the product list. And then all the resources, things like cutting tools and the machine tool that you're going to use, will appear under the resource list. If we come down here to the bottom, you'll see some toolbars that you should be familiar with. So this first one here is called the standard toolbar. So this contains things like resizing your display and the primary views. The next toolbar over is your view toolbar. And you have, again, ways of controlling your views and so on. And then to the right of that is the knowledge toolbar. Sometimes you're building parameters, functions, formula. This is what this is useful for. And then finally your measure toolbar, which is always useful to have available. Now on the right hand side here, these are what you see displayed are the primary toolbars that you'll be using through this video series to learn the Prismatic Machining Workbench. So the first one is this toolbar here. And it's impossible to read the name, but this is called your manufacturing program toolbar. And this is what is used to create things like your different setups that you want to machine, as well as the various manufacturing programs that translate into programs that run on a CNC machine. So this is an important toolbar that you will be working with throughout the term. The next toolbar that's important is the one that's just below it, which is called the Machining Operations toolbar. So this is where all the operations that you can execute in Prismatic Machining are located. So things like drilling, you notice a little triangle here. So if you click on this, you can see a whole range of different hole operations. So really this is your hole operations. And as you move across, you can see an operation for pocketing, an operation for facing, profiling, curve follow, and so on. So these are the operations that you create. Of course, you have to specify information to set up each of these operations. And then the last toolbar down here, I'm pulling these out temporarily and I'm kind of docking them on the top so that they become horizontal so that you can see the name of the toolbar. This is your NC Output Management toolbar, and this toolbar is what generates the NC code from the process that you've developed. That's the code that will run on the CNC machine. So this doesn't come into play, of course, until you've completed your process planning, completed the programming of the operations, but it's very important in being able to generate the code that you actually end up running. So again, that's in quick summary the interface. In the next video, we'll get into how do we go about setting up setups. That's where we place our machining operations, as well as how do we bring in the geometry that we're going to use to generate those operations from.